Welcome back to 20 Side Adventures. My name's Ryan. This is the first video like this in my series. This is Sorcerer 202 because Sorcerer has an easy take, I think, for a class archetype. Class archetypes are a little different from normal archetypes in that they fundamentally change the operations of your class. Now, this archetype in particular can be used on any number of spontaneous casters. However, I felt the Sorcerer made the most sense, so I'm making the video with this one, and this is the Wellspring Mage. For those of you coming from other editions or other TTRPGs, this is very reminiscent of a wild magic caster. You are going to hamper your ability to cast spells a little bit in a controlled state, but you will have a variable of how your emotions and stress and other things going on in the world impact and augment your casting. So if this is an interesting way to lean into your sorcerer bloodline, stay tuned and we're going to get into a Wellspring Mage. As always, if you like what we do here on the channel, give a like and subscribe down below. Very much appreciate it. We're pushing for 1K subs by year's end. If you like reading about session recaps and might be interested in what's going on at my table, check out my Substack, link in the description. And as always, easiest way to support the channel, leave a comment. I do appreciate chatting with you guys. Shilling aside, let's get into Sorcerer 202 with the Wellspring class archetype. We are here, Archives of Nethys, and the Wellspring Mage. Now again, this class archetype can be used across any number of spontaneous casters. I just feel it really leans into the idea of the Sorcerer really well, so I'm shoehorning it into this one. I think it's important to note that Wellspring Magic is a variant rule in Pathfinder that you can use and basically replaces Wild Magic. So while this archetype leans into using Wellspring Magic, you first have to understand how that rule works, and if you're a game master, you can sprinkle in Wellsprings across your campaign and create interesting and unique experiences for your casters to interact with in those moments. We're going to first just look into what a Wellspring is. So Wellsprings, by definition, lie outside your full control, and the inherent contradiction is that you have great potential for power. You can't use it exactly as you wish, regardless of whether you see it as a boon or a curse. It demands a degree of surrender if you are to use your magic at all. A magic wellspring often comes as an intrinsic part of a caster's own magic, whether granted or inherited. Characters can receive wellsprings of magic as gifts from powerful entities or when they're released from other sources of potential magical energy. Being nearby when an artifact is destroyed or a powerful magic being dies can, though rarely, leave a permanent wellspring in a character. Then it talks about the archetype, but here's the non-archetype portion of it. When a GM might implement wellsprings in a magic area where there's an overload of magic or where magic is unstable, and when using it in this way, you can apply chosen effects of Wellspring Mage archetype to all spellcasters in the area, not simply just the spontaneous ones. Spontaneous ones are taking wellsprings into themselves through this archetype. So first and foremost, you have to be a class with a spell repertoire, which is basically a spontaneous caster. You learn spells as normal for your class, but you change your spontaneous spell casting by reducing the amount of charges you have by 1. You also get 1 less cantrip. Now this uses the term spell slots, which I addressed in my previous video. Just doesn't make sense to me for spontaneous casters. Charges is a much better way to think about this rule. Whenever you roll initiative or you have some other stressful, chaotic situation at your GM's discretion, you must make a DC 6 flat check. On a critical success, so that would be a 16 or higher, you temporarily recover an expended spell slot of any level of your choice. So if it's first fight of the day, not that much use to you. However, if you have used some spells, you can get one back. This temporary spell slot lasts for 1 minute. If you don't use it, you experience a Wellspring Surge at the end of this minute. A success is the same as a critical, except you randomly determine the level from your top 3 spell levels. These last for 3 rounds instead of 1 minute, so you have to expend that spell charge very quickly. On a failure, you generate a Wellspring Surge, with the spell level chosen randomly from among your top 3 spell levels. By default of a Surge event without the archetype, you gain 2 spell slots per day from a Well Surge, and then this states if you gain it for a place where you have no slots available or no charges available, then it just doesn't have an effect on you. If also, this is worth noting, you have a temporary charge in the hopper and you generate another Wellspring event, you automatically fail. So what do the surges do? Well, when you have a surge event, you roll on a d20 and consult this random table. Does a wide variety of things. 1, you're going to get a 10-foot burst dealing 2d6 damage to yourself and everyone around you. 2 is a positive energy explosion, 20-foot burst of a heal. So this is going to harm undead, heal allies, heal enemies. Mass siphon, every enemy within a 30-foot emanation becomes nearly weightless until the end of your next turn. So people are going to start floating. You're going to have some benefits to climb and jump. Magical nemesis, you are going to summon a creature of appropriate level that is the nemesis of your Wellspring and magical power. GM can lean into this. There might be some creature that's haunting you through the magic space, trying to recapture that Wellspring power for itself. This has tons of Warhammer vibes where you just accidentally mess up a spellcast and a demon shows up to eat your mage. Monstrous transformation, you take a temporary polymorph into a similar creature as to what's haunting you through the magic scape. Again, super Warhammer-like when the powers of chaos warp your form. Sudden Gale, you get a weather surge and a 40-foot emanation, strong winds with a fortitude save or everyone is knocked prone and pushed up to 10 feet on a critical failure. Tremor, you create a 40-foot earthquake. Everyone has to make a fortitude save or fall prone and becomes difficult terrain for 1 minute. Oppressive voice, the voice of your muse or your deity or an ancestor is just echoing in your mind and shouting at you that you should do better. Make a will save or take 1d4 mental damage per spell level. On a failure, you also become stunned 1, and on a critical failure, stunned 2. Trinket Squall, basically an illusion of something related to your magic type, begins to just rain from the sky, giving everyone concealment. They can make a will save to disbelieve the illusion, however. Anti-magic eruption, you attempt to counteract a random spell active on you and on each creature in a 10-foot burst. So if you're surrounded by enemies, could be kind of nice. Surrounded by friends, they're all going to hate you when they lose their buffs. Mental broadcast, for 1 minute, everyone within 30 feet can hear your surface thoughts. So that would be super funny in non-combat situations. Verdant clutch, you cause everything around you to grow. It immobilizes all creatures within 20 feet. The escape DC is your spell DC. Tinge of Terror, this is a 20-foot burst for a frightened condition. Strike up the band for 1 minute. The band follows you around, playing your theme music tied to your current emotional state. You get a +2 bonus to diplomacy, intimidate, and performance, and a -2 to deception, and stealth is virtually impossible.
Oh, he's doing his own theme music?
And then the GM can also just play with the music, caveat however they wish. Life Sap, this one is brutal. If you get a 15, you become Drained 1 and Doomed 1 and Enfeebled 2 for 1 minute. So you're taking 3 massive penalties. So that one is probably the worst for you as the individual caster. Ablative Barrier, energy forms a protective barrier that ablates slowly as the creatures in the area take damage. All creatures in a 40-foot burst, so this is going to help friends and enemies alike. Gain resistance to all damage equal to 2 times the spell cast. Level 4 spell, they get 8 resistance to all damage. Every time they take damage, it goes down by 1. So the next round, it'll be 7. Next time they get hit, it'll be 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then it's gone. Luminous Pests, you summon a bunch of flying colorful bugs, causing dazzled and blinded. Emotional Turmoil, overwhelming surge of magic, that for 1 minute you must take DC 11 flat checks. On a success, you get a +2 bonus to attack, saving throws, and skill checks. On a failure, you take a -2 penalty to them instead. So potentially pretty solid buff to yourself. Sudden Downpour, 10-foot burst of a bunch of water, puts fires out, so that one's not too bad. And then 20, you immediately cast any spell in your repertoire of the surge's spell level or lower. You must choose a spell that takes 3 or fewer actions to cast, which I don't know if there's that many that take more than 3, but on a 20, it turns back into your favor and you just get a free spell cast that is not going to take one of your charges. So, okay, you're gambling on mostly not good things happening to gain some extra spell casting that just will continue on throughout the day. So how does the archetype itself now actually benefit you? So at level 2, which on class archetypes you have to take at level 2, you cannot dip into these at later dates. They have to be fundamental to starting your character. And on free archetype, you can just slide them right in there. Class archetypes are one of the few instances where I feel free archetype might be a little bit on the overpowering side because it lets you keep all of the benefits of your primary class while also getting the benefits of the class archetype. While I have personally toyed with making class archetypes have to go in class slots and not letting them use the free archetype slots, I've never had anyone go this direction, so I haven't seen it actually play out at my table, but it's just a a hunch I have that these are a little too much to then also be able to get all of your normal class feats. If you've experienced this, let me know what you think in the comments down below. All right, so when you take the dedication, you are no longer limited to how many temporary spell slots you can gain per day. So you can just keep regenerating your spell slots through Wellsurge events, assuming you don't fail the flat check. Or you get some control over your Wellspring, and you can roll twice and take your choice on the Surge table. So that could be of a benefit, though many times you might get stuck with two terrible choices and you'll just have to Kobayashi Maru your way through it. At 6, you get a reaction, which most casters don't get many reactions, so I think this is really cool. But once per 10 minutes, an enemy reduces you to 0 hit points, you are critically hit, or you critically fail a saving throw, you can attempt a flat check for a Wellspring magic. If you critically succeed, you can choose to forego gaining the temporary spell slot to instead have the triggering enemy undergo a Wellspring surge. So you get messed up, instead of getting a slot back, you get to drop a random Wellspring surge on the person that just ended you, or critically hit you. I think that's pretty neat. At 8, Energetic Resonance. This is another reaction. So now you're getting lots of reaction choices as a caster. Now this is a sorcerer one, so we might already have access to this anyway as a sorcerer. Same with Spell Relay. Surging Might at 10 is normally for oracles. If you're a divine casting sorcerer, this could be pretty cool for you. At 12, Interfering Surge. This one's unique to the Wellspring dedication. And this is basically a counteract that doesn't suck, because I'm not a fan of counteract. The odds that you have the right spell loaded up is just always so low to me, and I just find it, I didn't like it in Pathfinder 1st edition, I still don't like it in 2nd edition. What this lets you do is, if the spell being counteracted is in your repertoire by chance, you take no penalties. If it's not in your repertoire, you take a -2 on the attempt to counteract it, and if it's not from your magic tradition, so if it is a divine spell and you're a cult and they don't cross over, you take a -5 penalty on the attempted counteract. If you successfully counteract, a Wellspring Surge occurs on the caster. If you fail, however, a Wellspring Surge occurs on you. And that's not the flat check. That means you roll on the d20 table and see what random stuff befalls the person you just counteracted. At 16, Scintillating Spell. I'm not a big fan of this one. At 16, you basically get to add the Dazzle to any of the spells you're casting because they have special magic lights. This one does appear to be Sorcerer as well. I just think for 16, a reflex save to be dazzled is just not worth it. And then Echoing Spell at 18. This is also available to sorcerers by default. So the guys, that is the Wellspring Sorcerer. I just think a few of the reactions that are unique to it and a few of the abilities that are unique to it really lean in. I also like the ability to constantly replenish your spell slots, even though you're sacrificing some up front. I just really think the playstyle of gambling on the Wellspring Surges to then get more castings of it and create that interesting dynamic around the table is super fun. I also think the random events on that table can, one, be interesting for story points if that creature shows up that's hunting you for the Wellspring power, as well as just unpredictability can be entertaining at the table. If you play at a table where folks, don't like bad things happening, kind of by your choice, right? You took this, bad things could happen. Sometimes the dice are going to go that way and it's just creating obstacles for you guys. I could definitely see how at some tables this could be problematic where people will get frustrated by it. However, if you're at a table that just kind of enjoys the randomness and chaos and is willing to adapt through the situations for the benefits it grants you, I think this is a fantastic way to play a sorcerer. Let me know what you think of a Wellspring Mage in the comments below. As always, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, please leave a like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. I'm going to wish you a fantastic time on your 20-sided adventures. We'll catch you next time.